Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities via a number of different modalities. This show is obviously one of them. I also have a Facebook group, and I would love to have you join me there. We can be found at liveauthentically.today/FB. I'm also super pumped because I just released my first book. It's called SOAR, SOAR, and it is on Amazon, and it's an experiential spiritual journey through a very transformative life event and shows how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. I'm also a spiritual life coach, and I work with individuals, and I do group coaching as well. Hello, everyone. Good morning and happy Friday. We've got an amazing show planned for you today. I am super pumped to have with me Joshua B. Lee. Joshua, thank you so much for joining me.
No worries, Pam. I'm happy and grateful to be here. Excited to be able to have an amazing conversation today.
Yeah, me too. We have an amazing conversation here ahead of us. But before we get started, I'm going to start this show off a little differently. I have to kind of come clean on something. And here you go. You're like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into on this show? Don't worry, it's nothing you don't already know, but just a little background. So when guests come on my show, it's either someone that I've personally invited or someone that my team finds. They go out and find like-minded people who can come on and have a really amazing discussion. But in the spirit of full disclosure and full authenticity, I need to share with you guys that I poached Joshua Lee from my business manager's podcast. So I just had to kind of come clean, get that off my chest. I'm like, can you do that? Is that allowable if you're watching your business manager's show? Can you just go like pluck their guest and bring them onto your show?
Hey, when you reached out, you're like, would you be able to be on? I'm like, of course, why not? I mean, I would love and be honored to be able to, anyone that we can ever have a conversation with, right? And be able to share.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it just adds more value.
For sure. And that was such a great in the spirit of seriousness. So it was such a great conversation and such valuable knowledge that I know I would love for my audience to hear as well.
Yeah.
You do everything that you talk about has, the undertones or the spirit behind it is qualities of the human spirit and is energy, the energy that you bring. And the superficial is the word I was trying to think of. You go really deep. You're all about the energy. And I want to talk about that because that is just so important.
Yeah.
So let's kick it off with the same question that I ask all of my guests. And that is, what does it mean to you to live authentically every day?
That's an amazing question just because of the fact that it's so important to me. Comparably to when I look where I was in my past life and everyone saw me for who they believed their perception of who I was. And I never wanted to be like that. So me today, based on the different trials and tribulations that life has presented in front of us, it's being 100% me, 100% of the time, on and offline. So it doesn't, I'm not trying to make it difficult, right? It's like, look, either love me or hate me. Right. This is who I am. I'm going to show up the same person because I mean, Pam, I'm sure you've interviewed, talked to, seen a lot of the people online. I mean, heck, there are a lot of them are my friends, and you're like, wow, that's you online. I'm like, that's what? That's two different people. So that's the biggest thing for me is being authentic is just being 100% me. And honestly, the person that helped me with that was my wife. Being able to do that with her first and foremost when we started our relationship, because I had went through a divorce before. Mm-hmm. And I was like, look, I've never felt like I've been 100% with anyone in my life. And if I can't be 100% with you and you can't love me for all my things, right? Everything good and bad, and I can't be that all the time, how can I be that to the rest of the world?
Right. I love that. What were some of the fears that you faced as you contemplated stepping into more of an authentic life?
I mean, I always say it's our perception of other people's perception is what drives us crazy. Mm-hmm. Right? So you're perceiving what they perceive about you, and you're like, oh, are they going to like me this way? Are we going to have any issues? Am I going to, potentially, if I share that I had these failures in business, I'm not that person anymore that they held up, and it was difficult. You heard a little bit when I had that last podcast, but I mean, along with my past, yes, I built multiple companies and people held me up as like, oh, Josh has it all. He's got a huge team, multiple companies, house, kids, wife, the whole picture. And behind the scenes, I was empty. I mean, it wasn't where I wanted to go. And so when I let go of those, when I went through a divorce, when I went through and my lawyers told me it was going to take up to 3 years based on the companies that were there and potential of money being hidden around the world, I said no. It was one of the craziest things, but I just made that instant decision and go, give her everything. I walked away with a little bit under $1,000 to my name, where I hadn't worried about money for at least 10 years. Moved back in at 36 with my parents, and restarted my life because I was able to do that faster. And I value time over money because I knew I could make more. And at first it was like, oh, this is great. I'm so free. And then it was like, whoa, how am I going to meet, women, living at my parents' house, and I would create at first these different, ways to be able to shield myself. And then finally I just went on Facebook and I was like, look, this is me, 100% of me. And I mean, it was freeing, and the weight was off my chest that I thought I had already released, but I didn't, because no matter what I released monetarily to be able to change my life, I didn't release my perception of other people's thoughts about me.
So let's talk about a little bit more about how you felt when you mentioned freeing, and even you exhaled in your body language. I could see, that shift when we were talking about.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because I think sometimes people don't even realize when they are living a life that isn't truly authentic to who they are, they don't even realize how incredibly weighing it can be. The
Oh,
analogy
yeah.
I always use, it's like you're pulling this wagon. We all have this wagon full, or this wagon, right? And little by little, stones and rocks kind of keep getting piled on. We don't even realize that we kind of keep trudging along, putting one foot in front of the other. And we don't even realize that it's gradually getting heavier and heavier. And then someone comes along and just somehow magically empties the wagon. And all of a sudden, you can just take off and move kind of at warp speed. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about that, just that process of, kind of, well, I guess before we get to unpacking that wagon, what does it feel like when you're living in an authentic place? What are some feelings, physiologically, mentally, et cetera, that people can be experiencing when they're living in a place that is not authentic to who they are?
It's an amazing question, because it's one of those pieces. And I mean, honestly, for every person, it's going to be their own unique journey, right? For me specifically, it's been one of the most, just, you feel like you make decisions based on how you feel. Like my wife always just like, it's amazing. Like, you're either hot or cold. Like either you want to do something, you don't want to do something. And there's no in between with you, black and white. And I mean, I do live that way. Either I feel I want to do this, or want to go in. And I don't have those bonds that we put on, like, oh, what if we don't go to the event? There's FOMO here. I mean, being able to release these things, being able to show my kids, and be able to impart on them what I wish I had heard and learned earlier, right? Trying to appease other people to make myself feel good. I mean, I remember when, my past, and, I couldn't understand, like I had a lot of extra money. I mean, I was blessed with some of the companies that I started, and how well they grew. And I would try and do unto others, right? Or how I believed I would do unto others. And I was like, wow, I'll pay for this, or I'll do this, or I'll have people over. And I was like, I don't understand why people don't, I'm doing all this. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it because of how it made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
And really understanding that was so drastic in my life, going, like, I mean, I feel it now, right? I mean, your whole body, just when you're talking, when you're talking authentically, you have this, I don't know about you, Pamela, but I have this vibration that goes through my body, and it tells me, you get butterflies as you talk. These are the feelings that you have, because you're not worried. I mean, look, everyone in this world makes a decision on based on loving something or hating something. They don't make decisions by being indifferent towards something. And so many of us in this world work to be indifferent, right? We want to just blend in. And I
Right,
mean, honestly, I look at that as like, it's just wasting not only your time, but everyone else's that's around you.
right, right. And why do you think that is? Why do you think they stay in that kind of safe space of, you know what, I kind of will just blend in or kind of people please or kind of keep doing what I'm doing. I'm more or less, I think I'm happy. I mean, it seems like I have it all. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who look like they have it all from the outside and kind of convince themselves that they have it all. So
Yeah.
why do people continue doing more of the same in that kind of in that
Well,
space?
we learn to live with the pain, and
Yeah.
it's easier. We know what that feels like. We don't. The unexplored, it's better to go, I'm going to hold that up on a pedestal, that potential, what I could live like. And it's amazing to be able to look at it and covet it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go after it, that life, that freeing life, you're so scared that you might not make it. And what's it going to feel like if you don't? And that could be worse, right? So they're like, well, you know what? I know what kind of pain I'm living in right now. I'm managing that. So I'm just going to stay here rather than risk.
Yeah. Great answer. I love that. And I always say too that, I mean, that is true. I mean, the unknown, right? We don't know. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our uncomfortableness or our negativity, and our whole life is built around certain traumas, or and our identity really just takes on, you know,
Right.
things that have happened to us in our past. And it really is kind of scary to peel back the layers and peek behind the curtain and see what's back there. And then once you embark on that path, I found that there really is no going back. And
Right.
certain challenging times, I always say it's not, you know, it isn't always rainbows and butterflies, right? This path of growth and transformation, this path from, you know, to authenticity. So what words of wisdom would you have to say to people based on your own experiences, others' experiences about just choosing growth? Because again, it can be painful. It can be
Right.
painful to take that step, that leap of faith. So what words of wisdom do you have, or words of encouragement for those people who are kind of right on the brink? You know, should I make some changes in my life, or should I stick with a
Yeah.
path of pain?
You know, Pamela, it's one of those things, right? They always say, use your past to create your future. I don't believe that. I believe you should learn from your past
Okay.
to create your future, right? I mean, we need to learn from it. You can't go, well, the past is the past. You know, that is who you are. You and I would not be sitting here right now if I hadn't experienced those experiences, because people hold like, oh God, that was the worst thing. It might have been, but that was, not is, right? We need to live in the current time. So many people forget to be living in the present. What's going on right now, right in front of you? They're either living in the past or the future. When you're
Mhm.
present, truly present, it is enlightening, because you might look out. I mean, look, I've got, I've, as most entrepreneurs, ADHD. I was diagnosed when I was a child, and I mean, but I love that, because living in the present, I can go, oh wow, look at look at that leaf outside the window, or even though we were having a conversation, because I'm present in the world, even though
Yeah.
you and I are having a conversation, but I'm coming into it and I'm appreciating all those different things. And I promise you, if you're listening to this right now, just taking one step forward each day to try to live a more free and authentic life will do more for you than staying where you are. Because we have, especially with COVID, with what's going on right now, whatever we thought the next 40 years was going to be like, we've had a full reset. We now have more power than ever before in history to create the next 40 years. And the only way we can do that, to not only make this world better for my children, your children, everyone's, then the generations for it, is to truly be us 100% of the time and take that leap forward and create change. Don't allow change.
Wow, super powerful. Thank you for saying that. And I would absolutely like to echo that. I mean, this is an incredibly, obviously, it's a challenging time with everything that's going on in the world with the pandemic, but from a transformation standpoint, it's an incredibly exciting time because we are going through the biggest hard reset I've ever known in
Oh,
my
yeah.
awareness and true for many of people from generations prior. So this is a huge opportunity. I mean, this is fertile ground for doing a hard reset
Yes.
and just completely taking inventory on your life and asking yourself what serves you. What serves you? What do I want to take into my future and what doesn't? And letting go of those things that don't serve you. So based on your experiences, what might that process look like? I know that that's different for everyone, but if someone were to take inventory on their life, they're like, this is an opportunity, this is fertile ground. Okay, growth and transformation, let's do it. What are some
Right.
of the first steps they can do to sort of take inventory and figure out what serves them and what doesn't?
No worry. Yeah. I mean, so there's a couple different pieces that, I did, right, to be able to reset. I mean, I had something really amazing driving me, which was my son. I wanted to be better. And I mean, then I had my daughter, and I mean, I was an entrepreneur, right? I mean, I was trying because our relationship wasn't working. So, and I was an only child. So I was like, oh, we'll have a kid. I want a child. And then, well, that didn't really fix the relationship. So let's try again. I can fix this. I'm an entrepreneur. I fix things. You can't fix things, right? And that's the biggest thing. If there's an issue, it's not about fixing it, it's about adjusting your path.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to be able to do that is to understand you cannot help and change the world without changing yourself first. And how do you give yourself power? I believe, first and foremost, before anything, I start my day off creating power for me. Most people in this world, one of the first things they do when they wake up is they give their power away. Do you know how they do that, Pamela?
How do they do it? Tell us.
They grab this thing right here.
Yeah.
They set precedents that the outside world is more important than them. The world didn't stop spinning. Your company didn't blow up. It's
Wow.
you're gonna be okay. No one, I mean, if the phone would ring, if any of these things happen, an email, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you are, Twitter, TikTok, the one other thing that, distracts us from our current life. I
Yeah.
mean, and look, if you watch The Social Dilemma, they're creating that specifically to be able to do that. So it starts with that. You want to create change first and foremost when you wake up. Don't grab that phone. Don't set precedents to the outside world. Set that you are, right? How are you going to even start with 30 minutes, right? Like I wake up and I don't touch a computer, watch the TV, touch my phone for the first 2 hours. I wake up and I want to make sure one, stretch. Two, I go through and I meditate. And I work out. I spend time with my kids. These are all things that give me power. And I mean, this is where clarity will come from when you supercharge, you charge yourself up.
Yeah.
You'll have the ability to understand where you want to go and how you can, because if you're not charged up, how can you help other people? You're already deficient. And then you're just adding more deficiency onto others. So
Wow.
that's what I would say is, and look, everyone's path is different, right? If I was like, here's my morning routine, I want you to do this, this, and this. I mean, there's a lot of gurus out there that do that. That's their morning routine. If you wake up every morning, I love them to death, but say someone like, I don't know, you could say Tony Robbins, right? Tony's been around for a long time, and Tony has his morning routines. Well, that's Tony's morning routine. You have to be able to make it your own. And how do
Yeah.
you shift and do that? And that's the biggest piece I think most people understand of find something that gives you energy and gives you clarity
Right.
and follow from others, right? You're not alone. This is the biggest thing I want to tell everyone listening right now, because we all feel this way. I don't care, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You feel like you're in it alone. No matter if you're married, you're not married, you're not alone. And once you reach out to other people and allow them to be able to grow with you, because that's the only way. We all rise up when we all rise up. It's not an individual task.
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you for sharing that. And I would like to echo what you said too about, there is no one morning routine that serves everybody, right? There isn't a cookie cutter approach to any of this stuff, whether we're talking morning routine or growth and transformation but self-discovery is the fun of it. It's
Yeah,
fun to write different things on. And I always tell people, just here's a menu. I like to give people options. Here's a menu. Try these things on.
right.
Anchor on, let's talk about anchoring on how you feel, because I think that's one of the first steps is some people can be so disconnected. And again, I say it not as a judgment, but just as an observation to bring awareness around it, that sometimes we don't even stop to ask ourselves, how do we feel, right? How do we feel physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally? And I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about how anchoring on how you feel in a number of different areas can be the best barometer for how something is working for you.
Yeah. I mean, I look back and I mean, my anchoring really happened when I stopped to look down because, we're trying to live, I tried to live this whole work-life balance. And, I wrote my book called Balance is Bullshit, just because of the fact that it truly is. If you're standing there with 2 feet planted on the ground and I'm standing here with one leg, I guarantee you will last longer than me trying to balance on one leg. There's no growth in that. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I looked at, even though outside looking in, we're like, oh, look at Josh. I was 35 pounds heavier than I am now. I'd never been overweight in my life.
Mhm.
My relationships were becoming monetary, people around me, because I spent a lot of money. I had no vision about where I was going. I just knew where I was at. And everything was either work or play. That
Okay.
was it. And I mean, that anchoring alone, I had to sit back and go, whoa. Because, like, as you said earlier, you don't see it creeping up. You don't see these little things happening because they're so small. And every day we're trained to get used to life, not try and go, whoa. And I mean, look, there's this whole perception of body image and things of that. I mean, I have massive issues with that. I mean, it's one of the things that I work on constantly, where I have a slight case of body dysmorphia. No matter how much I can work out or go into it and things like that, I'm still going to see, and I don't care who you are, the more that you work out, the more issues, the more things you're going to notice, like, oh, that little thing, I could probably just, let me work in. And luckily I'm blessed to be able to have my wife to be able to check in with me. And she's like, what's going on? Like, I just turned 42 last week. And like the week before, she's like, it looks like you're, doing intermittent fasting again and this and that. What's going on? Are you worried about turning for your birthday? And I'm like, no, maybe. I didn't even realize it. I thought I was just doing things, and it wasn't that conscious piece. One of the biggest ways that I anchor, and I know that was the question, I kind of go big circles around everything. Sorry about that.
Oh, me too. I'm right there with you.
Is I do non-dominant handwriting. Have you ever done that before?
I dabbled in it a little bit, but I haven't done it regularly. Tell me
So I
about
do
it.
it on a regular basis because with our dominant hand, when we journal, it connects us to the things that are right in front of our face that we pay attention to. That
Okay.
are so with non-dominant handwriting, it connects you to the other side of your brain, that's the subconscious.
Wow.
And the things that affect you that you're not even paying attention to, that you just go through life and you didn't catch, but your subconscious did in it. And it definitely affects you physically, mentally, everywhere. And we just allow it because we've gone through these pieces. Let's say you're going through, you get in an elevator, right? This doesn't really happen that much anymore with a whole bunch of people, but, and, your son or daughter or whoever goes through and hits all the buttons. As a parent, you're like, or even the people in there, but you just kind of, okay, I've got to not react. We kind of go in and we keep on moving forward to our day. But I mean, that takes a hit on us internally. And if we don't acknowledge that at some point in time, this is those little stones we're talking about that weighs on us. So I love to be able to do that, because even though, heck, you're not going to be able to read it, right? Maybe you can. Maybe you can write with both hands, but it's about being able to connect with those thoughts that happen throughout the day. And you want to think about your day, like what's going on, what happened today that really affected me. And you close your eyes and you breathe in, breathe out for about 10 seconds. And then you release, and then you just start writing with your eyes closed. And what you might come up with, you're going to be like, I don't even remember that. But this allows you to be able to see what truly, like, it's not always the things that happen. Like, it's like you say you stub your toe, or you get a paper cut, or things like that. I mean, we get so reactive, and we put so much energy into those things that we take them on, right? Because they immediately happen to us, and we put so much energy, but we forget to put the same amount of energy to the things that just when your day goes on. And this is where I think non-dominant handwriting, now it might be the things that affect you, but it might be the things that really affected you positively. And then you can celebrate those things that you did. Hey, guess what? Today I walked around and I didn't stub my toe. Put the energy in that you would if you did. We just don't do these things. We put so much energy on negative things that happen in our life. We don't ever put half the time that just on that positive things, like you went through today. You got to kiss your kids good morning, kiss them good night, and be able to sit back and go, that was amazing. I am excited.
Yeah,
So
that's so powerful. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about that, because I think you're so right. We can be pulled towards what we know, towards negativity. It's easier
right.
sometimes. And we really do have to, there is tremendous value in shifting into that mindset of gratitude, that mindset of appreciation. That is a regular part of my practice. And would love to hear you talk a little bit about the importance of having a mindset of appreciation.
It is one of the most important things in my life. My mother always told me too when I'm growing up. She's like, "You were born under a lucky star. You've always had like a glass half full attitude mentality, because I appreciate these things. I've had a lot of different. Now look, I'm gonna be honest. I know a lot of people that have had lives extremely harder than there's people around the world, but each person, and you can't downplay anyone's perception, right? That's their life. It was hard for them based on what their life is. And I think that's where we go, like, oh, you didn't have a hard life. Look at so and so over there. It's a different life. And we have these different pieces. So, when you're kind of going through here, you really need to be able to have this appreciation of the things that you have, and be okay and appreciate the things that you don't have. I have 2 kids. Growing up in the world that we grew up in now, it's hard. I mean, even though with COVID, I mean, it's still hard. There's a lack of appreciation that we're always trying to instill into them for the things they have. I can give my child a toy or a new whatever Xbox, and they're like, "Cool, awesome," but also, and it's like, what do you mean, but also?
Yeah.
Why don't you enjoy this first before you think of, because that's where our mind's always going.
Mhm.
I have amazing friends in my life. One of them, Jesse Elder, and an amazing just individual. And I mean, before starting to eat, he appreciates the fact that food's been placed in front of him if someone has made it for him. It's amazing when you appreciate, you look at these things, because if you see the silver lining in everything, it gives you hope that there's a continued factor to be able to move forward for. If you don't appreciate these things, I mean, I look at, like, my wife and I told you, I'm very, very open. Like, she lives in the corporate world, I'm in the entrepreneurial world, but she's, going back and forth. And as we continue to be able to grow together, and when she's having a hard time, she's like, I just don't get it. It's so, COVID, things like that. And I'm like, But let's talk about, she's like, it's not as easy as you think, Josh. You've been doing the appreciating for so long, it comes natural to you. It's hard to be able to look and go, what can I appreciate today? So anyone listening, don't think that you just go through like, I'm going to start appreciating today.
Right.
It it's it's a process. And you have to push yourself to be able to do that, even if it's writing something down. Now, one of the ways that I've found to be able to go to bed, even go to bed, like to start appreciating, but at the same time, I think it starts with accomplishment as well. I think people have to feel accomplished
Mhm.
to be able to start appreciating. And I think most people in this world do not go to bed feeling accomplished every single night.
Right.
And I can share with you if you want one way that I've worked with people and I've done it for myself that I guarantee you every single night you will go to bed feeling accomplished.
Let's hear it.
All right. So I love this. So it's one of those pieces. So we've all done it, right? I'm going to write down the things my to-do list today, right?
Yeah.
These are the things I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
Well, what's the value of that piece of paper once you write everything down on it? Pamela's like, I'm going to wait for you. I'm not going to.
I'm gonna
It's
listen.
still a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, right? This is the problem. They write it down like, oh, well, let's write it down. I'll get to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? So we always have to do this. We get some done, we don't get them all.
Right.
We as humans hold ourselves accountable more than anyone else. We hold ourselves accountable. No one else. You're not going to hold me as accountable as I'm going to hold myself, especially for the little things in life. So I want to make sure that I'm not just doing the things and I go back and go, oh, I didn't get that today. I guess I'll get to it tomorrow. And we go through and we don't have that sense of accomplishment.
Mhm.
Well, I want to be able to, and the more senses we use, touch, taste, sight, all these different pieces, the more senses that we use, the more, that it means it impacts us as human beings. So after my 2 hours in the morning, I take out my phone. One of the first things I do is I think about 5 things that I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can accomplish that day. I don't care if it's waking up, going to the restroom, walking the dog, but we start off small, right? These are 5 things I know without a shadow of a doubt I can accomplish. And so I take my phone. It's one of the most powerful things you can actually use if you use correctly. And I turn the camera on video, and I also have my hand in front of it. So I'm not looking at myself, I'm looking at the camera. And I say, Josh, today you're going to accomplish boom, 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 5 things. At the end of it, I say, Josh, congratulations on accomplishing all your goals today. So I know I'm going to do those things. And at the end of the night, right before I go to bed, I watch that video again and I hear myself and I see myself telling me that these are the things I was going to do, even albeit they would just been done anyway, but they're start small and we can gradually go up.
Yeah.
And I hear myself saying, congratulations, great job on accomplishing your goals today. It's an amazing feeling. And I guarantee you will feel, if you go to bed feeling accomplished, you will wake up with so much more energy, so much more appreciation for those little things in life. And it works multiple and different folds, right? Because as I said, if you can tell yourself every single day that you're going to accomplish something and you do, and you hear yourself saying you did, think of the power that it's still, the sense of accomplishment. If you can accomplish it, you can tell yourself you're going to do something, you do it. You can tell anyone you can do these things and you know you're going to do those things. And 2, we live in a world. Look, you and I are on Zoom right now. We're in front of a camera. Doing that every day helps you feel more confident on camera.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's amazingly powerful. Thank you. I'm gonna have to try that. And I think that that's so important too, is that self-talk. I mean, I can't, that it's just so incredibly important that we pay attention to the words that we used. Because I mean, not too long ago, I went through a period where I was listening to how I was talking to myself. I was just being super critical, just about,
Right.
again, you talked about body image stuff. I could totally relate to that. I work out all the time, eat super clean, and like it can kind of border on obsessive sometimes. I
Oh,
keep
yeah.
keep, upping the bar and fine tuning. And what if I work this in and layering on, I've done the intermittent fasting. And, oh, I'll try this, water cleanse and not eat like for like 7 days or something, just
Yeah.
keep trying more and more extreme things. And, and I had to stop and just kind of do, time out.
Right.
Stop beating yourself. All you're doing is beating yourself up about how you don't look. And, and the way I see myself is completely different than the way other people see
Right.
me. So I think that we can oftentimes be so critical of ourselves. We don't even realize that we're getting in our own way by the words that we choose, right? We're getting in our own way by the things that we say to ourselves. And if you just change that, right? If you appreciate what you've accomplished, you shift into that mindset. Congratulations. You did an amazing job today. Even if all you had the energy for was getting up and taking care of your kids, or just, again, you accomplished so much just
Right.
by being in the position of being a dad, living an authentic life. That's a tremendous gift. Even if you didn't check anything off your to-do list, it's okay. Getting in
Yeah.
that mindset again of appreciation. I'd love to hear you talk about that a little bit too, because there's tremendous momentum from an energetic sense with, with everything that we do, but particularly with appreciation. And I think sometimes it's hard to get the ball rolling, particularly if you're feeling like you're at rock bottom. And,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are challenged across the board right now, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, across the board. And so what words of wisdom do you have for someone? What if they say, I'm in a really shitty place right now. I'm having a hard time getting in that mindset of appreciation. What can I do?
I mean, here's the thing is, right? What do you have, right?
Yeah,
Do you have a roof over your head, right? Do you have a car to drive? Do you, you know, do you have food each and every day? Now, I know a lot of people don't,
right.
but is there opportunity out there, right? Like if even if it's not what you want to do, like I've run a business. I started my company back in 2002, and I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if someone came to me, no matter what, if they were out of work for 8 months saying they couldn't find a job, I'm going to tell you, they're lying to themselves. It's not they couldn't find a job. They didn't find the thing that they felt they needed to be able to do because they put themselves at a certain level. My father taught me many years ago. I remember when I was 15, like, yeah, I lived upper middle class, and I thought the world. And then my dad lost his job. He was let go. And I got a job. I started working at the YMCA, doing things like that. And I mean, it was, you know, just trying to be able to be. And I was like, oh God, I can't believe I'm not going to get the car. I'm going to get the hand-me-down truck and things like that. And then my dad's like, are you kidding me? He's like, look, I went from being the VP regional manager of X company, and he went to go work at Sears selling siding. He worked at Circuit City, if you can remember that. I age
Mhm.
myself a little bit. You know, he sold 18 wheelers for a little bit until he found the next opportunity, and he worked with a company from the ground up and worked his way all the way back up till he retired a couple of years ago as the vice president of that company again.
Wow.
Because he's like, look, nothing's ever going to be given to you, but you have
Right.
to appreciate the things that you have, right? You have the ability to be able to, you know, every breath is appreciation. There are people in there, especially with COVID, that are struggling to breathe now.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to look in. I mean, I tell my wife, I'm like, look at this, the amazing house that we've blessed. Only a few years ago, I walked away from it. I was living with my parents. And honestly, I'm going to tell you, it took me hitting almost rock bottom where, yes, I gave away. I'm like, oh, I'm amazing. I was out with friends, trying to distract myself. We're out drinking every night, doing all these things. I was not helping myself.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize until I realized it that I was in a mini depression. And I would go home and I would stare at the wall and I would go through. When I met my wife, which we just had our 2-year anniversary here in Sedona, trying to be able to get that energy, find the vortexes and things of
Yeah,
that.
love it. Congratulations.
Thank you. And, we went through and I remember, she would tell me, she's like, what's going on? You're like, you have this opportunity, you have all these amazing people within you. Why aren't you reaching out? Appreciate the relationships that you built. So that's the whole thing. It's hard to be able to start and go, okay, how do I start appreciating? But think about that. Look around you right now. What do you have that you've earned?
Yeah.
What have you been able to? You have the ability. Like, there are so many people. There are people that are managers at McDonald's, and they don't appreciate the fact that they're a manager at McDonald's. They should, because guess what? I guarantee you there's a couple thousand, if not more, people that would love to be the manager at McDonald's. But other people look at them and go, they're a manager at McDonald's. I mean, well, why would you? No, you've created that opportunity. You have the ability to be able to share that down the line. And that's the one thing that I think everyone needs to be able to do. What can you share with the world? Because no matter where you are, I promise you there is a couple thousand people that would wish they were where you are right now, listening to this podcast right now, and appreciate the fact and appreciate the moment that you're in right now.
Yeah, so powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I'd love to go in the direction of, this is obviously related to what we've talked about, but the importance of relationships and the humanity within all of us. I know that you're a super successful entrepreneur, but you embody the spirit of human connection. You
Yeah.
obviously understand and you preach that's what you're about, the value of human connection, and love the fact that you and I speak the same language. Just a little quick story here, and then I would like you to share your wisdom that you apply in
Of
business
course.
around this, getting in the mindset. But I was sitting at the kitchen island the other day, and one of my sons walked in. He's 12. He waltzes into the kitchen. He's like, "What are you doing, Mom?" And I'm like, "I'm making friends." He's like, "Well, what do you mean you're making friends?" So I was on LinkedIn, kind of networking, reaching out to people, sending messages. And so we talked about it. And I said, "You know what I do? I make friends. That's what I do in business. We sat down and had a discussion of, it's about the people. It's really
100%.
about the relationships. It's about cultivating a relationship. And one of my clients said to me recently, they're like, "I just want to, like, how do I start making money fast?" Like, you know what? There really is no way to make money fast. You've got to play the long game, right? You've
Yeah.
got to play kind of the long view and just start investing, start building relationships, building the trust, let people know that you care, right? We all just want to be cared for, whether we're the CEO of a company or a new hire. And I think that there's just some basic fundamentals in the area of just our humanity,
Yeah.
qualities that appeal to the human spirit, that I think really drive our personal lives and also drive business success. So I know
100%.
that was really broad and I'm kind of just putting it out there, but you can take it in any direction you'd like to. But I would, again, like to hear you talk about just the energy and the importance of human connections.
Yeah. I mean, look, my parents instilled in me one fact above all else: respect.
Yeah.
Not only respect yourself, but respect others, because it's the easiest thing to lose and the hardest thing to gain back. So, I don't care if someone's bagging your groceries, cleaning your house, or the CEO of a company. You treat everyone with the same respect that you feel that you deserve and you want to receive back. If you can't do that, you're not doing those things. Same thing. I mean, that's in marketing. Like, I was blessed and cursed, early on in my career. Like, I got a major contract with a company that most people forgot about. I used to monetize all the traffic for a company, MySpace, and we made a lot of money. And I built companies around those things. I know how to monetize things. But if anyone ever comes to me and says, "Hey, Josh, can you help me monetize?" I'm like, "No, I'm not your guy for that." And that was my biggest shift when I had my change, because I wanted to go back when I reset my life. So I got to be able to, I'm looking at this. There's people like me. How do we monetize? Why are we monetizing everyone, right? If I pitch 1,000 people and I get one sale, people go, "Yeah, I got the one sale." I go, "No, you just pissed off 999 people." How do we change that, right? Because there's got to be a better way. My whole ethos around, and I mean, talking about ethos too, as I look at I always try to make sure too, I'm understanding both sides of the coin, the male and the female. Like, I have right here, this is based on an artist friend of mine. He did the male ethos and the female ethos. So I'm always being able to understand perspective from both sides, because It's kind of like a coin, right? If I handed you a coin, Pamela, and it only had one side on it, a quarter, you'd be like, what's this? I truly believe in all aspects, as we talk about the human factor, we need two sides of a coin to be able to bring that value. And that's where, men and women need to work together to be able to truly add value and change this world. We can't do it alone. And the same thing with human aspect. We talk about two sides of a coin. Where people go in business, they go, well, it's either B2B or B2C. No, it's neither. It's H to H, because every company and every opportunity is another human being.
Yeah.
And we need to connect and talk to that human being, not to the company, right? B2B and B2C, which I'll, business to business or business to consumer, just to make sure we're going through all the different pieces, acronyms. They were created like by marketers like I used to be able to diversify ad spend and get more people's money.
Okay.
That's it. So online, I always tell my clients, like, I'm here to be able to help you build advocates first, allow the byproduct to become clients. And I want to be able to change the way that we work. And I mean, this is not just in business, right? This is in person. Treat people as another person, as another human being, not as an opportunity, not as a way, not something that you can manipulate.
Right.
As an only child, I understood, and this is why I built my company now, is because I took two different things. I understood traffic. In my different businesses, I have controlled over 35 trillion online impressions. I've managed over $300 million in ad spend. And one of the biggest things I figured with most people online is they didn't know the difference between a sale and actually true engagement, right? They're looking at traffic, and then there's engagement. And that's the same thing we live in life, right? Do you want to engage with someone, or you just want more people in your life?
Yeah.
So, these are those two. And I took that and I said, look, I want to be able to change the way people do this. And then I looked at the same time being an only child, and I said, I've spent I wasn't born with having a brother or sister to be able to have an instant, relationship. I had to learn to be able to understand people. And at different times, I understood the human nature enough that I was able to manipulate those connections to how I wanted them to be able to react around me. And, I could mimic their language patterns, their movements, these things, because that's what people relate to, even though you don't realize it. And I said, wow, and I never wanted to be that person again. And this was very young on, or even before I started my businesses. But even more now, I said, how do we do this? How do we actually be human online again? We've forgotten that. More of us are online than ever before. So we need to be able to take that, because if you can be in person, you have a conversation rather than speaking at someone, waiting for your turn to talk next.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about, let's do a little mini commercial for your company. I know you're a super successful entrepreneur. You've taken so much of your wisdom and you've worked it into an amazing business model, an amazing mission. So like, let's do the elevator pitch. Hi, I'm Pamela. Nice to meet you, Joshua. What do you do?
You're gonna get me. This is like the worst thing I'm at, because I am like I have people in my company and then others that are connected, like, Josh, you're horrible about pitching yourself. I'm like, because I don't, right? I mean, like, you'll never find anything online about what my company, like a sales pitch or an ad or anything like that, right? Like, everything we work with, either someone hired me on a podcast sharing, or they know someone that's worked with me, right? It's referral based, because I never want to sell anyone. And that's always the biggest thing. And that's the biggest thing we stand for at Standard Authority is, we teach people how to be human, especially marketers and, and companies, how to be human online again.
I love it. Yeah.
And the reason why you're doing this is because you don't want to, if you have to sell someone into working with you, you have to keep selling them. That's exhausting.
Right.
But if you educate, inspire, and draw them in, and that's what we help our clients be able to do, and they choose to work with you. It's amazing. And because you're going through an authentic conversation, and the things that we do, Pamela, are just things that my mom taught me how to be able to treat other human beings, growing up.
Mm-hmm. I
We
love.
start with appreciation. And it's funny, we're going to kind of go through what we already taled about, right? We start with appreciation, and like we do specifically around LinkedIn, right? Because I saw that was it's the vehicle that we choose because it's an underserved platform. But I mean, you can do what we do on any platform. That's just where I wanted to be the best in, because I saw the most opportunity for change. Because so many people get on there like, oh God, I get the, hey, I see Pamela, you're wearing a black shirt. I'm wearing a black shirt too. Let's connect, And it's like, and then they pitch you 2 seconds later. So we start with appreciation, right? Then we go to, and I'm happy to share. Look, we'll go through it, right? Appreciation. We've been conditioned online to comment, like, share, post, comment, like, share, post. This is what the social medias have conditioned us to be able to do. And we've got to create stopgaps in these patterns for someone to actually be able to pull them out of that cycle. So I believe appreciation is one of those first things you have to start with, because I don't think there's enough appreciation in this world prior to COVID. Now there's a heck of a lot more than there ever has been for those little things, like you and I, right? Like, teachers and kids going to school, and, having the help and being able to get out of the house and all these things. So one thing that most people aren't appreciating before we've been conditioned is to like someone else's post or content. So we start off, hey, Pamela, I saw you like my recent post. Just wanted to take 2 seconds out and say thank you. Too often we don't appreciate this. I'd love to be able to connect with you and find out what pushed you to engage on my content.
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, I saw you looked at my profile, right? Thank you. Because these are the little things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
We start off with those things. At the same time, everyone in this world posts online for one reason above all else. And truly, you can say, oh, it's to be able to be a voice, to be able to get clients, to be able to go in. But first and foremost, most viscerally, we all post for the hit of, endorphins, that dopamine hit that we get when someone engages in our content.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same point, if we're trying to be able to reach out to someone, we first and foremost become that dopamine dealer, where if you're my ideal person I want to connect with, I'm going to see that you posted online. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to like and comment on your post. I'm going to reach out and say, hey, Bama, I saw your recent post. I just wanted to say thank you for posting great content about X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
Love to be able to connect with you, because it sounds like you're doing some amazing things. So it's that more human element.
Yeah.
We then
Yeah.
go through, it's the compliment, right? My mom always taught, when you meet someone new, you give them a compliment. It doesn't matter what it is. And people go, how do you give someone a compliment? Like, come on. I guarantee you everyone on here has given someone a compliment. Like, oh, great hair, or I love the paintings, or, great car, whatever it might be, right? Or I love your dog, right? There's always little things that we naturally do as human beings. So we do that on LinkedIn by giving an endorsement. I hate unsolicited advice. So I never like to do that. And I hate cold calls and cold emails. This is the whole process we're going through. So it's the same thing with unsolicited advice. When we give that endorsement, LinkedIn makes it easy for someone to come back and then go, hey, Pamela, thank you so much for endorsing me. No problem. This is where we can ask a question about them that they can give a response to. Then we can provide value based on how they answer that question. And it's just going through the human process, but doing it online, having 7 to 8 touch points. And that's what we're doing for our clients all the time, to be able to help them connect, educate, inspire their audience, rather than having to sell them.
I love that. I love that. And what I love most about the energy you embody, what you bring to your business, what you stand for, et cetera, is that it's soul based, right? I feel like those soul based initiatives are they don't get the attention they deserve in this world. You talked about appreciation, respect, kindness,
Yeah.
gratitude, compliments. I mean, those are all soul based.
Those aren't marketing words.
I know I'm preaching to the choir here. You know that they're soul based, but I really would like to drive that point home, is
Yeah.
that when you come from the soul, all of the other things that we chase in the ego department come naturally, right?
Right.
The abundance comes naturally. But when you come at things asking yourself, how do I make money? How do I get followers? How do I put myself out there in the public eye? How do I look like I have it all? All that stuff, that's all ego based.
Yeah.
That model has an expiration date. People can
100%.
tell energetically the energy that you're showing up with. Do I care? Am I in this for you, or am I in this for me? It's very obvious to tell right out of the gate.
Oh
So
yeah.
I applaud you for everything that you're doing, for this amazing work you're putting into this
Well,
world.
Kayla, if you had saw me, years ago as I was rich, or successful, whatever people base that off of, people look at my picture like, you look 10 years older then. That was 10 years ago, potentially. And I looked older then than I do now. And when people would ask me about my company, I'd be like, I do something around traffic. It's just online. Now I can't not smile when I talk about what I do because I see the impact every single day. I mean, we had one of our clients, Pamela, just by appreciating this person, we reached out to him, appreciated him for liking one of my clients' posts.
Mhm.
And his response back is something that sticks with me to this day because it was so surreal, that the power in being able to just being human and appreciating the people that take the time out to engage on your content as an influencer, as a whatever you are, right? Trying to be able to get your message out there. And he said, you know, I just want to reach out and say thank you. You'll never know how this changed my life. Today, I had planned on this being my last, but by you showing me to appreciate, sorry, to appreciate the little things in life that I took for granted, gave me new hope for this world, and I will push forward because of it. Thank you.
Wow.
Like all we did was say thank you for liking our post, and it saved this man's life. That's why I know it's not. So I always say the byproduct when we work with our clients is helping them, and I only work with people that add value to this world. As I said, if they're looking to monetize it, I'm not the person to be able to help them do it. But because of messages like that, that I get to be able to see, that I see the effects of what we do and just giving people a little hope for this world.
Right.
That's why I do everything that I do.
That's so amazingly powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wow. So people would like to get in touch. That was amazing. I'm still, everything's just kind of still metabolizing. I mean, those are really powerful words.
Yeah.
And I know that you've added tremendous value to my life today. And I'm just honored to have you here on my show to share your message. And it truly has been an honor. I appreciate you and all of the amazing work you're putting out in this world. If people would like to get in touch with you directly, what is the best way for them to do that?
When I always tell her, since we do LinkedIn, I always say, find me on LinkedIn at it's Joshua Beely. But if you just send me a connection request that's blank, I'm going to be honest, I don't play a numbers game. It's about having this crew. I want you to come in and connect with me and give me a message say something about my pictures, say something about the conversation Pamela and I just had. Give me something, right? Say, wow, I really appreciate X, Y, or Z, or I did not like what you were saying here, but I wanted to be able to connect with you, right? So please reach out. I'd love to be able to connect with real human beings on there that we can actually add value to each other. And that's the best way to truly connect with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. I appreciate you. I believe that time is a choice, and I'm grateful that you have chosen to spend some of your morning here with me and Joshua B. Lee to listen to his super powerful message. Also, I would love to have you guys check out a copy of my book. It's Soar. It's on Amazon. And also join my Facebook group, liveauthentically.today/FB. Thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful day.